Okay, good evening, everyone. It is 5:32, and I would like to call this information study session of the Lansing School District Board of Education to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Present.
Mr. Krim, Mr. Lopez, Mrs. Moore,
Present.
Dr. Nebarz Martinez, Mr. Novisky,
Present.
Dr. Rodriguez, Ms. Williams, Mrs. Willis,
Present.
Quorum is present.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I had it on my list to have Mr. Krim read the mission statement next. Oh, okay, thank you. You're welcome. Ms. Moore, will you please read the district mission statement?
I will. Our mission is to provide a high-quality education in a culturally safe and nurturing environment that supports all students to live purposeful and fulfilling lives.
Thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda this evening? Public comment on agenda items? Next item, we have first reading of some policies. Am I turning this over to the policy committee because I don't see Mr. Keck? Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. And it's always pleasure to report from the policy committee. We had a long meeting and we studied 3 policies. They are in front of the board members today and the public. The first 1 and 2, Mr. Nowitzki is going to inform us and give us a report. Then please.
So the first policy listed is number 2266. This is the previous or current policy on non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. Essentially, this covers Title IX requirements, which have changed at the federal level. So we are studying a new policy to implement. But this change needs to add what's stated in the proposal that effective August 1st, 2024, this policy, the one that's currently there, shall only pertain to reports or formal complaints of sexual harassment that are based on conduct alleged to have occurred on or before July 31st, 2024. Essentially, we need to keep this in our policies with this statement so that if any claims come in now or in the future, but they occurred prior to that date, they would be handled under this policy. So that's the only change to this current policy, is to add that date.
In the policy graduation requirements, policy 5460, we spent a lot of time in that one. I think that is the first reading we are recommending today. I hope the all board members read this and be sure that you don't regret that you didn't do the right thing now on next meeting. We had the opportunity to correct, to add, to change, and talk about the graduation requirements. I had to thank also during the meeting, Mrs. Cornelia was there from the Department of the Office of Culture, and also Deputy Sergio Keck. They helped us in doing all these adjustments to the policy. We did that ourselves. We didn't need Neola or anybody else. We saved some money. But now it's up to us to read them, please. These are so important. And I am sure that after that will be the regulations and everything else that the community need to know about these 2 policies, because that goes directly to the community and to our students. If any questions, I will be on. Mr. Nowitzki will answer. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Madam President,
Dr. Rodriguez?
oh, what is that? I move I move that the Board of Education receive the policies for the first reading as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Dr. Rodriguez, supported by Ms. Williams. Are there any additional questions or comments?
Madam President, I
Sure
just
thing.
share with the board that these were kind of the easy changes that we had, so we made them, we're bringing them to deal with, but there are, like I mentioned, extensive new policy on Title IX requirements, and then as Dr. Rodriguez was saying, that additional things that we're looking at on these other policies as well, maybe additional changes that would be proposed, and the other policies the committee's being tasked with. So these were the simple, quick ones that are before you now.
Thank you. And I know we don't typically have action items on our ISS meetings, but given that this was an easier set to approve, we figured, why don't we go ahead and at least get it on table for first reading so that we can continue to move forward with adopting our new policy. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Nowinski. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez, Mrs. Moore, Mr. Nabisky,
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Williams, Mrs. Willis,
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. Ms. Moore did have to step away briefly. That brings us to a communications mobile enrollment van recommendation.
Madam President,
Dr. Kavanaugh.
I move that the Board of Education accept communications/mobile enrollment van bid recommendations as presented.
It's been moved by Dr. Kavanaugh, supported by
Second.
Ms. Williams. Is there anyone from the administration who would like to just give us a brief overview? Ms. Slate?
That's me. So good evening, everyone. Just want to talk a little bit about this. This is something, as a district, we're revisiting. At one point in time, we had a vehicle that would serve this purpose. What we've been finding while we've been doing enrollment is that we really need to start meeting our community and our families where they're at, to try to overcome barriers such as lack of transportation, busy schedules, and just general unfamiliarity with the enrollment process, especially for our families that are enrolling their students for the first time. So this really gives us a community-focused approach, and allows us to foster stronger relationships with our families. And this purchase is being done through the consortium pricing through My Deal. So we're getting, again, through consortium pricing, the best prices in the state of Michigan. And we really look forward to be able to bring this service back to our families in the district.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments this evening?
Madam President,
Sure thing, Mr. Lopez.
it's not a question or comment. I just want to, even though you or anybody may know, but my daughter works for La Fontaine. So I want to declare, what's that? Not abstain, but perceived
Would
conflict,
you like to recuse yourself for conflict?
Yeah.
That's fine, Mr.
So-
Lopez.
just for the record.
Thank you. Thank you for that disclosure. I did just have a brief question. So we are utilizing the My Deal price, which is great, and we're able to use technology funds. Do we have an estimated annual cost to operate potentially, and where would that funding come from?
Sure. So annual cost to operate, I don't have an exact amount, but this would be a brand new van. So obviously, as it gets older, it'll be more cost, but regular oil changes, tire rotations, all of the normal vehicle maintenance, although we will not be driving this as much as a normal use vehicle, so it'll be slowed down quite a bit. But that would be covered out of the operations budget. We do that quite frequently. We cover other vehicles as well that we have in the district to do oil changes, repairs, those types of things.
Perfect.
I have
Sure
a
thing, Ms.
question.
Williams.
Seeing as how we're purchasing it through La Fontaine, can we maybe add some of those additional expenses into our contract where they cover it for a certain amount of time, maybe a service agreement where we're covered under that? That's my first question.
Mm-hmm.
And my second question is, what would be the impact, or how do we see us utilizing this, and how, I mean, even say we purchase it and it arrives next week, are we still gonna, how do we see it mobilizing?
Yeah, so we would, the service agreement I can look into. With the new vehicle, there are some things that are standard with warranties on there, so we would absolutely have that part in there. But we actually are signing on through our insurance company as well to have services be able to be rendered for all of our district vehicles, so we'll be utilizing that as well. As far as once it comes on site, we'll start using it immediately. So we'll use it to go to community events. We'll use it to go out to some of the more locations that are out and about where we know that parents have more barriers just to get into the community, where we know that we still have some students who are younger who maybe are not in preschool, who are not in kindergarten yet because parents just don't understand or know what to do or how to do it. So the plan is to go out and reach out to the community and mobilize ourselves immediately. Some of the larger apartment complexes, community centers, going to their events, hitting up some of the more local like city events or different things that are going on, just making ourselves known. Obviously, this will be used a lot more during higher peak enrollment times, but we plan on using it for outreach at all times for different events.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Are there any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0 with one recusal. We have next on our agenda, Ms. Slate, I believe I'm inviting you and perhaps others to the table to share with us our capital improvement project updates.
Just me. Yeah, my team's gonna chill back here, but one of the first things that I'm gonna do is actually thank them and congratulate them on all of this work. So behind me, I have a very amazing team from my operations department. So I've got Lori Brandon, our director of operations, Caleb Thalen, our facilities manager. I've got Mark Alexa from Plant Moran Cressa, who is our bond owners rep. Rob Crow and Andrew Dobbs from Chrisman Company, and I think everybody, well, a lot of people here know Todd Coe, who was our bond owners rep for Sinking Fund. Okay, I got everybody. All right, I just want to make sure I got everybody. I'm going to go through the presentation tonight, and I'm, again, very thankful for the team that I have behind me supporting me and the district in its entirety, and I'm kind of going to go through these. We're going to get to go out and see them after the board meeting. So if you have questions, great. I think going out and seeing the sites is probably going to answer a lot more questions than I can here. But if you have questions, definitely let me know. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. The first school that I wanted to talk about that we did some renovations to was we did a lot of HVAC work at Averill Elementary School. So our total cost was $1.5 million, and we did that out of the 2022 bond fund, and that was completed a whole school year prior to this, so August of 2023. So just a couple of pictures of the HVAC units. You can see even in the classroom, they use them for learning tools as well, even though it's air conditioning. The second school that we did with that same project in that summer was Lyons Elementary, and we did air conditioning there as well. So again, a little bit different of an air conditioning unit. The first one was a vertical unit. This one is a horizontal unit. So we basically replaced what we currently had in those two locations and upgraded the systems. We also used the bond fund, and we were able to use the food service fund with this as well because we routed some AC to the kitchen area. So it was another source of funding we were able to use. Sexton High School, so here we are. I think you guys are seeing the new LED lighting that we have. So that was one of the huge projects that we did, is we put in all brand new lighting in this school with retrofitted LED lighting. And then there's some things that we've done so far that you can't really see. So at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see some piping that we had to replace. Not anything pretty, but something that costs a lot of money and, you know, is a necessity for the school to continue running. So the pipe replacement that we did here underground was $250,000. Just to give everybody kind of an idea, the picture on the right is what our pipes were like before. The picture on the left are brand new pipes that we have. In addition, we have a lot more work that we're about to start at Sexton, so I kind of want to talk about that for a second. So we're going to start looking at doing some AC in the annex here, fully doing that in the annex. It's already partially has air conditioning, so we want to finish that up. We've also done some control work here, so for us being able to control heat, those types of things better from a central location. We're also going to be doing new flooring and paint in classrooms. We're going to be doing new corridor doors and a new front entrance. So we're going to be working on all of those things over the next 2 summers, but we will actually start doing some painting and some flooring yet this spring with some classrooms that are currently open, and then maneuver things around. So we're really excited about the work that's to come for Sexton, and for all of you J-dubs out there, wait and see, here it comes. Cordelia's happy. Everett High School, so a couple of things there. We also put in all new retrofit LED lighting throughout the entire school. And then we have another grant that we just received for $2.5 million to work on the track and field area at Everett. So that work is going to be starting, well, we've started the work now, but we can't actually start groundwork and that sort of thing until the spring and summer. But we are currently working on design with the athletic directors, our director of enrichment, school principals, coaches. We're currently getting all of their feedback about what they would like to see in that process, and our first designs are going to start coming out, and then we'll start tweaking them. So we're really excited to bring a new soccer field and a new track facility to Everett High School. EV Nation, I'm hearing. We're spreading the love. Next school is Willow, and this is going to be our first stop on our tour tonight. So estimated cost is coming in around $40 million. We're obviously using our 2022 bond fund, and we're also able to use our food service fund for what we're the kitchen area, the servery area, that type of thing. I have estimated completion dates on here because it's the right thing to do. This school will open for fall of 2026, but we're hoping to have it turned back over to the district around July of 2026, and then we'll have a whole nother month to be in there and get everybody familiar with the property. Really excited about this. If you happen to drive by Willow, there are new walls going up every single day. The beginning of this week, one of our pods had 0 walls, and it's about 75% complete as of today, and that happened in about 3 days. Pat and Gill. So this is actually going to be our second school on stop. So we are doing a whole new addition, rough estimate of $6.9 million. We've used a bunch of different sources of funding for this. So sinking fund, capital fund, and food service. This is going to be completed this December. So we'll be happy to invite and bring in the new middle schoolers probably during the winter break. And then when we transition out of winter break, students will be able to come into the building. It's causing your street, this I know. Mount Hope. So this is our new build that's closest to completion. So we're super excited about this. The new Mount Hope school will be done and be open and ready for school next year. Estimated cost is coming in at $27 million. We've used the bond fund, food service fund, and then we were able to actually use the 31A safety grant. It's a mental health grant as well, but also used for safety and security. We're using part of that grant to pay for the fencing around the perimeter of the site. So as I've kind of talked about before, we've started putting up fencing. So this is a way that we were able to use additional funding and grants that we got from the state to be collaborative and creative about funds to service, to pay for the entire new build. Gardner International. So a couple of things that we did here. We put in a lot of new pavement, new concrete and sidewalks, new playgrounds, and then we built 2 new preschool rooms. I'm super excited to show you guys those tonight as well. They're very large classrooms with a lot of different areas that allow our preschool students to have those areas of play and rest and education and learning. So super excited to show you those. More work to come at Gardner this summer as well. We're going to be looking at redoing the entrance into the school because, as our superintendent likes to say, it is quite a mess driving in there. We have quite a few potholes and divots and all different types of things, so we'll be redoing the entrance on Dahlia into the school this summer as well. Newcomer Center. I kind of feel like it's not my baby, but there's a lot of work that went into this. I'm very proud of the team for this one. So the total estimated cost is $2 million. Completion date is actually going to be about this month because we're installing a new wall in there. So it's 99.9% done. We've got one little project left to do. That'll be done this month. We were able to use sinking fund, capital, and food service fund for this. Atwood, very excited about this one. Those students, This is going to be amazing for them. A brand new middle school size gym, and that can also be used as a cafeteria. We also put in a new bus loop out front to get the buses off of the street where parents were also dropping off and picking up. So now we've got a more designated area. Buses are in the loop, parents are outside in the street. So that's helped a lot with pickup and drop off. And then again, like I said, we're putting in the brand new gymnasium / cafeteria, and that will be completed this December as well. Hill and Career Tech Ed. So these total projects are going to be $8 million, and this was spent over this past year and this upcoming summer. One, we got a community center grant for $2 million so that we're redoing some of the HVAC and the gymnasium with that money. And then we got the 99N Lansing CTE grant in the amount of $6 million, and that's the work that we started with the classrooms, the cafeteria, and then this summer, what we're going to be doing is a new main entry, a new main office with a secure vestibule. We'll be finishing the rest of the classrooms, adding or redoing the kitchen for the culinary arts program, and some additional work in the construction trades area as well. So that will, all of the rest of that work will help happen this summer. And to stay with Hill, we also received a 61R Hill Track grant to help us redo the track at Hill, and we also use some capital project funds. I'm giving you just a little snippet of this because we haven't actually had the unveiling yet. That's going to be happening at the end of this month with our dedication. You guys are going to get to see it tonight with the lights on, so I think it's going to be quite a special thing for you guys to see. But the track is done or will be done here in the next week or so, with the rest of the plaques going into the dedication area. I'm super excited for you guys to see this. Playgrounds, I know I've talked about this before. Between what we've done this past year and what we will be doing this summer, which is replacing all old playgrounds with new and updated equipment that is friendly for all students. It's a total of about $1.7 million that we'll be spending in play equipment for students. We're using the sinking bond and capital projects for this. As you know, like I said, we completed a first phase this past summer. The rest of the playgrounds will be done this next summer and spring. Fencing, again, we did a first phase this past summer. We'll be doing the rest of the schools this next summer, without including the high schools. All other schools will be done. We're using our safety grant and capital projects, and the total cost for these will be about $1.6 million. Now for some new projects that are going to be coming up that have not started yet. So this summer we will be doing about $5 million worth of work at Kavanaugh Elementary. They will be getting new HVAC, air conditioning, LED lighting, interior paint, new playground, a bus loop, and new fencing. So they are getting kind of a complete overhaul. We will also be resurfacing their current parking lot as well. Cumberland will also be getting air conditioning this summer, new lighting and interior paint, a new basketball court or play court, and a new parking lot as well, to the tune of about $1.1 million. Geyer Park will be getting air conditioning and new interior paint this summer. Post Oak will be getting air conditioning and paint. Forest View will be getting air conditioning and paint. You can see there's a theme here. We're trying to add as much air conditioning as possible this spring and summer. Sheridan Road will also be getting air conditioning. They already have a lot of cool paint in their building from their former principal, Miss Benavides, sitting over here. So we'll be touching up their paint, but we don't necessarily need to add a bunch of new paint over there. With that being said, really quick, the schools that we're adding all the air conditioning to, we're actually hoping to have schools like Geyer Park, possibly Cumberland, maybe not Kavanaugh, Sheridan Road, Post Oak, getting that air conditioning installed this spring, starting to get as many classrooms as we can installed so that they will actually have air conditioning prior to it being too hot or before summer actually hits. So we'll be working through that. And then just as a tiny snippet of information, in case you're wondering about the total amount of money that I just talked about on the projects we've spent, it's a little over $110 million. That we've spent or are spending on these projects. One of the things I did not put on here was Luton. just happened to come to me that, you know, I didn't put Luton on here. We're still in the design phases. We actually had our last parent meeting earlier this week where we showed a new design concept and got a lot of great feedback from both the staff and the parents, and I think we're really headed in a great direction. That will be a $40 million project as well, same as Willow, and that is will be completed by the fall of 2028. So we're super excited to add that in as well, but if there are any questions that you guys have, I am an open book.
President. Thank you very much for the presentation, and it's so nice to see almost new schools in every neighborhood, and that improves the business in the neighborhood, also improves the health and education system, and I want to thank the community because it's the one who gave us this possibility, but also all the people who are working, they put money back to the community. I would like to, one of these days, after all this money, what is rest in the sinking fund and how much is in bond, that we have an idea where we go in the future with the money that we have. I also was driving from Jolly Road today, and I saw the beautiful sign for the Welcome Center, but I didn't see a similar sign for Gardner. And that is my old school. Then I think we should have a beautiful sign for Gardner International School. One more time, that contributes to the health of our community. And thanks them for all that, and thank the board. Thank you, Madam President.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say one thing too. I didn't put everything that we've been doing on here just because I could probably be here for 3 hours talking about it. But we have already started installing new signs. We've put in 4 new signs so far, and we will be working through the rest of the district to put in new signs that are beautiful and electronic and able for everybody to see.
Because sometimes the community is the only thing we see,
Correct.
and it's a perception.
Correct.
We have beautiful building inside, and we don't see it, what is there, then we have to be proud of what we have. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Moore, and then I got you, Ms. Williams.
Yes. I just had a question about the air conditioning. Will this cover all of our schools after these projects are completed, or how many schools do we have left?
It will not cover all of them, but our goal is to get, these are just the most recent upcoming air conditioning projects we're going to have outside of Sexton, because Sexton that we're in, it's quite an overhaul to put in full HVAC here. The goal is to try to get all of the rest of our schools some form of air conditioning before school starts next year. So the 5 that I had mentioned are the ones that we have in progress right at this very moment in October. However, we'll be working through the rest of the winter to try to devise a plan to get additional ones done next summer before school starts next year.
All righty. And thanks again for the work that you all have done.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Again, thank you for the work that you all are doing. I do have a question, because again, Pat Gill is in my area. The lighting, is it some of the light bulbs out, or did we change it to LED lights? They were different this morning. They looked really pretty, but I was like, what's that?
On the outside or inside?
Outside.
Oh. Don't know. We'll figure it out,
I'll
though.
show you tonight.
I looked at my guys at Christman to try to figure it out, so not sure, but we'll figure it out.
They look
Yeah,
really
no problem.
cool, though.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
Madam President? Yeah, on Sheridan Road School, I know that we've, struggled with that, to either bring it up to date, and we're gonna put air conditioning in that, which is fine. But what is the long-term view on that school? I mean, if we put this money in right now, and in a year or 2, we're going to find ways of rebuilding it. What's your thought on that? Mr. Superintendent?
I'm happy
I'll
to.
take it away from you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to
Thanks,
answer.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, the question about, how much money is left and where we are, I think once we get a handle on what the designs of Luton are going to be, we'll get a better understanding of, what we might need to do in order to get Sheridan as a full overhaul or kind of an upgrade, make no, bones about it. Inflation certainly hit, the bond was passed a couple of years ago now. We want to make sure that we're able to do it. I think the long-term plan for Sheridan Road is going to be contingent on where we are with Luton. If we're talking about a whole overhaul, basically tear down the building, or if we're going to redo. The nice thing is that if you noticed with the air conditioning that we're going to bring in Sheridan Road, it'll be air conditioning and be good air conditioning, but it's not going to be an overhaul of their electrical system or an overhaul of like central air. So that's going to allow us to move things around if and when we kind of take down the building. We're going to have I think a hard conversation about what another bond could possibly look like, what we can do with sinking fund, what we can do with other things. But the long-term plan for Sheridan Road is to redo it in some way, shape, or form. What that looks like, I think, is going to be contingent with once we get Luton priced out to see what's left and what we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Because I just have one. Is there anything that we can do to start stockpiling and building things now in preparation that we know we can start making purchases on to beat inflation or supply issues?
Yes, so we've started to do pre-purchase packages for a lot of our AC to get those in now for two different reasons. One, we know about inflation and different rules that are changing with air conditioning, and two, because they take a while to get in. So some of these parts take a while. So crazy thing, doors take a really long time to get. I don't know, we're at 42 weeks right now? I don't even know. Yeah. So we do start pre-purchasing things as soon as possible. And then to be honest, we've made really nice relationships with a lot of people, and, they know that we're doing a lot of projects. And so we're getting things sometimes quicker than those estimated timelines. But yes, we have definitely looked into pre-purchase packages. We did that with prior air conditioning as well. So to answer your question, yes.
Madam President?
Sure thing, Mr. Lopez.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of air condition and heating units that have a smaller, and I wonder if that's a good way to deal with other buildings that we could provide both heating and cooling out of those smaller units per room.
Yes, so we are looking at the mini split option, and then those smaller units. Those are options that we're exploring to put into our schools instead of doing whole system HVAC renovations.
And one thing that we didn't talk about on this, because we really want to highlight all the construction, is, the district is caring very deeply about green initiatives and solar and things like that. One of the great things about some of the split levels and the AC that we're going to be doing over the years is if we're creating our own energy and we're moving towards a more electric or split level system, it'll actually be able to offset a lot of the costs. So, we've talked about solar a lot in these meetings. We're not going to do that today, but just know that this is part of a really long-term facilities plan as to how we move this district, through the 21st century. Not to, because we're already in it, but through the 21st century. So.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping. The next item on the board's agenda this evening is a closed session. So anticipating that we will vote to go into closed session, we will reconvene out of that closed session and then formally adjourn the meeting and then go on the tour. So if you folks feel free to exit and make your way to the bus, we will be right behind you. With that being said, may I have a motion? Ms. Williams?
The Board of Education recess into closed session for the purpose of considering material exempt from disclosure and is permitted in the Open Meeting Act.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Ms. Williams, supported by Dr. Kavanaugh. Any questions or comments about going into closed session? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Williams, Mrs. Willis.
Yes. Great. That passed 7-0, and at 6:06, we are in closed session. is 6:22, and we are back in open session. It's okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items. Any public comment? And next, we have comments from board members. Well done, thank you, okay. Next, may I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. It's been moved by Ms. Williams, supported by Ms. Moore. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7-0, and at 6:23, we are adjourned.